Lisa has been ordering lectures on various topics. So, uh, today's organizing committee includes coordinator Vikash sir from Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak, convener Nandini Harshadrai ma'am from Gujarat Vidyapith, co-convenor Govind Pandey from Amarkantak University, and Sunita Yadav ma'am from D.T.S.S College, Mumbai. Today's topic of lecture is rethinking and transforming Indian knowledge. For giving lecture, we have Professor Ananta Kumar Giri sir, who is Professor of Madras Institute of Development. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to invite Vikash Kumar sir for welcome speech. Over to you, Vikash sir.
Okay, thank you, Shubhangi ji. And first of all, I would like to express my great gratitude to respected Professor Anand Kumar Giri sir. And I would like to also welcome to the Indian Research Scholars Association platform to Professor Ananta Kumar Giri sir. I would like to also welcome to the convener of this lecture series, Shubhangi Amble, Nandini Dubedi ji, Professor Sunita, and Govind Pandey. And I would like to also welcome to all the participants who had taken their valuable time and joined this lecture series. Uh, Here some professors have joined from the various research institutions and the colleges. I can see on the screen Professor Asa Raj Purohit madam, Dr. Sarmita madam, Dr. Sanjay Swate sir, and other participants who had joined from the various institutions. So I would like to welcome on the behalf of me and on the behalf of the India Research Scholars Association. And this is the great opportunity to all of us that today Professor like Ananta Giri sir, who is the very eminent and prestigious scholars in his field. And when I had seen the CV of the sir, then I have read that sir has written more than 23 books, various reputed books from the and that those all books had published from the Rootless, Sage, Springer, and in various vital publication. So, and sir has also selected a very eminent and very relevant topic for us. So, in these days, I am writing the book review of the Professor Anil Kumar Baddiraju book. Recently, this book has published from the Springer. The title of the book, Region, Religion and Modernity. So, sir has also selected the rethinking Indian knowledge system in the same field. So, this lecture will be very fruitful to all of us. So, I will not take the much and more time. Again, I want to invite to Subhangi ji for the further proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Sunita Yadav ma'am for introduce our guest. Sunita ma'am.
Yeah, good evening, every one of you all. Myself, Professor Sunita, a research scholar at D.T.S.S College. I would like to welcome all the students, research scholars, those who are there with us in today's evening. I'm so pleased to be with you all this evening and to have the chance to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Dr. Ananta Kumar Giri sir. He is a professor at Madras Institute of Development Study at Chennai. Sir have many research in his credit. he has published numerous books, and if I will be list out, there are the several things. First, I will introduce his research interests toward the different spirituality, religions, mobilization, social transformation. Then I will introduce his research area related to the social theories, social movements, and transformations. Then sir has given his view related to the philosophy and literatures. He, I may say that he have a very creative ideas related to the different field. He may introduce, if I will let you know the list what he has done related to the research work, my word will be left out, land up with no way. But yes, his credit, his view, his work, it will not be a end. Like sir's name is Ananta. In our word Anant, there is no end. So definitely whatever we will going to get it today by sir's session, there will be the no end. But sir, after all the ocean, we want something from that ocean, that we also can get it the knowledge. And definitely sir, we are like a seed, whatever you will going to put us in our mind, definitely we also will grow in future. So one more I would like to add on. Search, research, sir's very few research, teaching and work experience. Sir is a visiting scholar at Indian Institute of Advanced Studies at Simla. He is a visiting scholar at Department of Politics and Public Administration. He is a visiting scholar at Indian Institute of Advanced Studies. He is a visiting scholar as Faculty of Art, Business and University of Sunshine. He is a visiting scholar. I may say that there is a no end. As Sir's name, there is no end. There is the numerous numbers. There is the my list will cannot be a get over. I would like to directly go to the sir by your Giri sir, by your with permission. I would like to go on the research publication the sir has done. There is the award, Best Citizens Award in the year of 2012 from the Best Citizens of India from Delhi. Bharat Jyoti Award from the Indian Glory Award, India International Friendship Society at New Delhi. Presented the D's met at the D. Menfef memorable lectures with the Beyond Plurality and the Standpoints. He, in the year of 2000, the outstanding intellectuals of the 21st centuries, that is called as International Biographical Center, Cambridge. Sir, we are really very pleased to have you on this platform. Kindly enlighten your view to us so that we also can get out of all the ocean. We will going to get it. Yes, definitely. We cannot get it because you are somewhere on the top. We will be going to get it at least 10% and definitely will grow like you. Thank you so much. Over to Vikas, sir.
Okay, yes, Subhangi madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Anant Kumar sir for giving a lecture.
Thank you so much, dear Vikas, and thank you so much for
Sir.
to Professor Nandini, Asa Purohit, and Professor Sunita, and all friends co-present, Nidhi, and many friends co-present. What a joy to be together on this day of Ramanavami. And as Sunita was hinting, that Rama is a journey of infinity. And we remember Mahatma Gandhi's realization of Rama. For him, Rama is not just a limited person. Rama is a sadhana of infinity. And that way, speaking about vastness, as students of society, we are always invited by the reality of vastness. And Sri Aurobindo says that we are all sparks of vastitude. At the same time, we have many limitations. We are limited by body, we are limited by social systems, by gender, caste, and now in modern world by the nation state centered knowledge and citizenship. But with all our boundaries, still we as individual and society, we are continuously invited by a movement of vastitude. So there is a dialectic of finitude and vastitude in our sociological method, as in the very constitution of our reality, as self, individual, society, culture, nation, and the world. With this, I want to invite us to think about sociology and sociological knowledge vis-a-vis the current discourse of Indian society, including a very interesting thought that in India we need to develop a Bharatiya sociology. And therefore, the title of my presentation is With and Beyond Sociology and Indian Knowledge, Bharat Hind India Vishwa, a new Upanishadic sociology and an ecology of hope. What I invite us to think is that okay, it's not moving. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir, it is visible.
and it is moving now.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
it is moving also.
Okay. So as we think about India sociological knowledge and a urge that our Indian sociology needs to reflect Indian sensibility, and that term is given Bharatiya sociology. I invite us to engage ourselves with a few paragraphs of challenging thinking like this from J.P.S. Oberoi, who is a great thinker, sociologist, philosopher, and in his book, The Other Mind of Europe, Professor Oberoi writes, India as a cultural area will be nowhere, I think, in the world of knowledge, the sciences, and the arts if it does not first defy the European monopoly of scientific method established in modern times. It is no solution to propose to wait until we should ourselves become Europeans. Then this second thought is from Daya Krishna. He is a deep philosopher of India, also had interesting dialogue with social science. He is writing to confine oneself to the individual alone is not to do justice to the notion of Purusartha. And you can appreciate that when we talk about Indian knowledge. Themes like Purusartha, consisting of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, are very important concerns. But in sociology, we have not really engaged ourselves with the theme of Purusartha as consisting of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. For example, our sociology of law or norm or morality, we rarely engage in sociological discourse with the vision and practice of dharma in its complexity, not in a very simplistic way. Similarly, we have a sociology of economic life. Our economic sociology does not engage with the notion of artha as part of purusartha. But Dayakrishna poses still a very important challenge. He is saying that in Indian society, in conventional discourse of Purusartha, it is mainly left at the level of individual. So it also needs to be thought at the level of society. And therefore he writes, in fact, our conventional view did not formulate the idea of a collective Purusartha without which the real problems of a plurality of jivas who are aware of each other for the realization of their own purusarthas cannot even be formulated. And this idea of a collective purusartha is very interesting. For example, in a particular family, what is our vision and practice of collective Purushartha. Then it involves transformation of gender domination. Men and women have to be part of a co-laboring, fellow beings with beauty, dignity, and dialogue, so that they become part of a collective Purushartha. Similarly, if we look at our own society, then people living from all religious backgrounds, we are part of our collective Purushartha. Therefore, on this day of Rama Navami, we also realize the 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 the, the simultaneous co-presence of Rama and Rahim. That today we also feel the presence of all our brothers and sisters from all our religious traditions: Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, including our primal indigenous religious traditions like the Adivasi religions. Then moving on, Bina Das, she poses a very interesting problem. An individual's capacity to make sense of the world presupposes the existence of collective traditions. But individual must be able to experiment with these collective traditions by being allowed to live at their limits. And then, so it is in this context, revisiting sociology calls for a foundational interrogations of the foundations of sociology, its Eurocentric formulation and formation, and continued Euro-American domination. It calls for dialogue with multiple traditions of social, political, and philosophical thoughts from across the world, including Indian traditions of thought and knowledge system. But this is not one of uncritical replacement of modern sociological knowledge with many problems, with uncritical and valorized ethnocentrism of many kinds, such as just Indian knowledge. The challenge here is for responsible and rigorous learning and in-depth understanding of Indian traditions of social thought and sociological reflections and world traditions of knowledge, including Euro-American traditions. The challenge here is for open and unbiased sadhana of learning of Euro-American traditions of social thought as well as Indian traditions of social thought. It calls for rethinking both Indian and Euro-American traditions and knowledge systems as plural and part of world traditions historically as well as contemporaneously. We need to realize India as Bharata Varsha, Bharata flowing through time, a dynamic and meditative movement with time embodying meditative verbs of co-realization. India, that is Bharat, which is written in our constitution, is Bharata Varsha, and it's simultaneously Al Hind. So, dialogue with sociology and Indian traditions invites us to realize India as Bharat, Hind, India. As it is part of the world, we need to realize India as Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa. Such a plural realization of India challenges us to realize the plural streams of Indian knowledge: Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, Christian, Jain, indigenous, and six philosophical streams of India, and many more. With this plural realization of India and Indian knowledge system, I discuss the dialogue between Upanishad and sociology and cultivate pathways of Upanishadic sociology. And then I link it to a new ecology of hope, the hope of integral sociological knowledge, as well as our life of sadhana with self, culture, society, state, world, and cosmos. From Bharatiya sociology to Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa sociology. The contemporary discourse of Bharatiya sociology is linked to the current geopolitical and ideological valorization of India, that is Bharat. But we need to realize the limits of self-valorization and understand and realize Bharat in India in her integral space-time linkage and vastitude. The contemporary discourse of Bharatiya sociology is also not isolated from contemporary geopolitical valorization of nation-state model of looking at Indian society and history, including a conscious or unconscious contemporary majoritarian slant in politics and ideological mobilization of Indian society and thought along Hindutva lines. Shakespeare told us long time ago, what is there in a name? At one point, names could be nominal, but at other points, if we are not conscious and awakened about the possible exclusionary impact of our proper names, then it can lead to a lot of avoidable anxiety, pain, and suffering. For example, is Bharatiya sociology only Hindu sociology, or what constitutive plurality it has within itself, so that people of all religions, cultures, and traditions of India feel at ease that their knowledge systems, texts, sociological and philosophical worldviews are also engaged with in the discourse of Bharatiya sociology. Bharatiyata is not isolated from not only our ideas of India, but also modes of realizing Bharat, Hind, India, and Vishwa world. And here Bina Das again giving she tells us that how what has happened is that in post-enlightenment period in sociology, it is the nation state which has been very primal. For example, she writes, given this history, the practice of constructing national tradition in sociology or social anthropology is curious, since it takes the political boundaries of nations to be already given and settled. And so today there is a lot of nationalistic hype, and as students of society, we must also relate to nation state in perspective. And for example, Binandas writes while editing a handbook of Indian sociology, she writes the editorial advisors to the companion and I did not conceptualize it as a project that could represent a national tradition, but rather as a work that could delineate the tensions and contradictions between different texts that scholars, administrators, and others had in the study of Indian society. Then now I come to this whole Bharat, that is India, as it is written in our constitution, is also Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa. We need to realize our singular names is integrally plural, which I have already discussed. Now, here we also need to engage with the idea of India, as Vikas was telling that our idea of India also needs to embrace the regional dimension. But before that, we are familiar with Sunil Khilani's notion of idea of India, which is mainly emerging out of post-independent Nehruvian strivings and imagination, and it is inadequate. But post-independent India existed prior to British colonization and struggles for freedom, albeit in different forms. It is also not helpful to look at India only in terms of argumentative traditions or pre-debates, as in the works of thinkers such as Amartya Sen's, Argumentative Indian, and Viku Parekh's. We need to understand India as an emerging journey of realization and pluralizations, emerging with the flow of space and time, and moving interactions between and across regions and the wider national, transnational, and planetary environments. So, my point is that our idea of India has to have a regional dimension. For example, in the next slide, I refer to it. Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa throughout histories has also manifested through creative regional formations. And all regions of India have their own trajectories of regional, national, and transnational formations. For example, Kalinga in the eastern uh, part of Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa had maritime networks and cultural transactions with East Asia as the Tamil country in South India. Kerala and Gujarat had have vibrant links with West Asia. In order to understand Bharat historically and contemporaneously, we need to understand regional, national, and transnational formations such as Kalinga, India, Southeast Asia, Vishwa formation. Contemporary regional transnational diaspora formation also can be looked at from this point of view. Bharat Hind India Vishwa sociology and the challenges of love, labor, and learning. Bharat Hind India Vishwa sociology needs to go beyond the post traditional telos of modernistic sociology, which takes it for granted that modern society has already moved beyond tradition and modernity has triumphed over tradition and society has emerged from the fluid contrary to contemporary perception of Indian sociology. Fluid, contrary to contemporary perception of Indian sociology, being totally blind to Indian traditions, such as the heritage of Sanskritic knowledge, many Indian sociologists of yesteryears, for example, Govind, Harshadrai, Ambedkar, Marathwada, Pandey, 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 Harshadrai, Ambedkar, Marathwada, Hindi, Odia, and Tamil, and we also do not write in our mother language. The another problem is that not only we do not write in our mother languages, but we also do not do field work, both empirical and theoretical as well as historical work, outside the charmed circle of familiarity. For example, the discourse of Bharatiya sociology, without this integral love, labor, and learning of plural life worlds and many languages and life worlds of India and the world, cannot help us much to come out of our self glorifying closures and entrenched parochialism, where 99.99% of Indian social scientists do not do empirical or theoretical work outside the 50-kilometer radius of where they are born. And we can ask this to each one of us, because Shubhangi and Sunita and all of us, have we ever done work, historical, philosophical, or empirical, outside the 50-kilometer where we are born? Even if when we come from one part, like from Gujarat, and we come and study in Kashmir, we go back to Gujarat to do our field work, but we never do, field work in places like Kashmir or other places where we are not born. Then here another challenge is the dialogue of traditions, failures, and calling of modern transmutations. Now the problem is that sociology began with a post-traditional telos. That means that sociology is already modernistic. But in India, our life world is not just modern or modernistic. Today we have Ramanavami, and for Ramanavami, for all these 9 days, many of us, they are fasting, for example. Now, and there is no conflict between those of us who are fasting on Ramanavami and doing our work in many modern domains. And as Ramanavami was going on, fasting was going on, we are also at the last stage of fasting for Ramadan. Therefore, fasting in Ramanavami and fasting in Ramadan, as it emerges from our different life worlds but related life worlds, they have a root in plurality of traditions. So today, in order to understand our contemporary world, we need to go beyond the opposition between tradition and modernity and realize that our contemporary life worlds, self, culture, society, and the world are simultaneously consisting of flows from tradition, flows from modernity, flows from postmodern critique, as well as transmodern. The idea of the transmodern is given by Enrique Dussel, and where he's saying that today in all contemporary societies, be it in India, Indonesia, Sweden, France, England, Germany, Singapore, China, in all these places, we realize that neither tradition and modernity can give us a sure way of moving ahead. But being in the contemporary, we are trying to experiment with different ways of living and have institutions and consciousness so that we can live meaningfully in our contemporary world. Now, it is in this context that we should realize that as there is limitations of modernity, for example, modern society has become too individualistic. Modern society suffers from the problem of primacy of the political and violence of nation state. As Anthony Giddens' work, nation state and violence. And tradition also has its own problem. For example, in this paragraph, I present you realizing the limits of both tradition and modernity. We in our contemporary world strive to cultivate self, society, nation, and the world as creative formations of human and planetary flourishing. And for this, we need to learn from failures of both tradition and modernity, including failures of traditional and modern India and modern West, and not be foot soldiers of slogans of glorification of past and present. Bharat Hind India Vishwa sociology needs to learn from failures of both tradition and modernity, India and West, and take part in creative transmodern transmutations of self, culture, society, knowledge in the world. About learning from failure, Habermas writes that history at best be a critical teacher who tells us how we ought not to do things. For example, look at our Indian history of the last 150 years. We realize that at some point we formulated our idea of nationalism in a bit exclusionary way, and which ultimately led to the partition of India. So now, when we are talking about Indian society also in a nationalistic way, shall we not learn from the failures of past, what Habermas calls that the proof of shattered expectations? Then similarly, Bethe writes, here, when we are talking about Indian intellectual tradition, Andre Bethe has a very deep critical comment to make. He writes, and as we talk about Professor Bethe, we realize that he's at a very advanced stage now. He's 90. He's my dear and respected teacher from Delhi School of Economics. He writes, Indian intellectuals may boast, if they are so inclined, of being heirs to the most elitistic among ancient intellectual traditions of the world. Learning was for the chosen few, the rest had little or no access to it. Virtuosity was promoted above everything else, and an aura of mystery was created even around self evident truths. It would appear that even today the Western educated Indian intellectual remains elitist at heart, although he has learned to speak a populist tongue. Elitism and populism have both been influenced, at least in the outwards form they have taken, by the Indian intellectuals' exposures to the West, and indeed it is clear that in many cases they are two sides of the same coin. But it would be a sad lesson to draw if it were to put the blame for this solely on the West, beguiling ourselves with preachers like neo-colonialism, academic imperialism, and other such resonant phrases. So what Professor Bethe is challenging us, that when we are talking about Indian knowledge, that we must realize that just putting the blame on the others like academic colonialism, does not resolve ourselves of our own responsibility of moving from feudalism and elitism and then really learn with the people, and which is also the spirit of sociology and anthropology. Now I invite us, what would be a pathway of dialogue among traditions? For example, in the Euro-American sociology and social theory, power is considered an important part of constitution of self-culture and society. And what is power? According to Max Weber, to have one's power is to exercise one's will against the will of the other. So therefore, this view of power is already an either-or view or a kind of a zero-sum game. That means if Vikas is going to have power, then he is going to have power against my will. But not necessarily. In this forum today, all our wills are coming together, isn't it? And in a way, our power is coming together. So there is also a different tradition of thinking about power, as Gandhi embodies that we all have power, so that I am not dominating over you. Similarly, Hannah Arendt, the great political theorist, for her to have power is to work in concert with each other. And then Benedict Spinoza, the philosopher, he talks about constitutive power. Now, this idea of power, therefore, is different. It is not just domination of other, but working, meditating, and working together, including dancing together. As we do that, at the same time, power is not everything. Bhagavad Gita tells us about Shraddha. For example, there is a line in Bhagavad Gita, Shraddha mayo ayam purusha jo jat shraddha sa eva sa. It means the purusha, the human person, is characterized by Shraddha. One is what one loves. These lines also offer some presuppositions about self, culture, and society, as the presupposition about power offered by Max Weber and Michael Foucault, and justification offered by Jürgen Habermas. On the other hand, some of the most enchanting formulations about self, culture, and society in Indian spiritual tradition failed to address and transform the sociological condition of power in the direction of radical democracy. Thus, what is called for is not a one-sided valorization of certain aspects of one culture, such as spirituality from India and power from the West, but a mutual confrontation of one's presuppositions and broadening our universe of discourse. For example, spirituality as the hallmark of India. But when spirituality becomes organized, many of these so-called spiritual teachers, some of them are in jail. For example, they have killed, some of their followers who have just asked them some questions. They have done violence to women, including rape, and their point therefore is that this dialectic between power and Shraddha needs to be explored heuristically, not just as a metaphysical presupposition. And then here in this section, I present you works of four scholars as in their very creative ways how they have tried to understand Indian society, which has germs of what I plead for as Bharat Hind India Vishwa Sociology. G.C. Pandey, Rameshwar Roy, J.P.S. Uberoy, and Chittaranjan Das. I'll briefly present their work to you. For example, G.C. Pandey has a very important book called Meaning and Process of Culture as Philosophy of History. He also has a book called Bharatiya Samaj, Aitihasik or Tattvik Vivechan. He has many interesting ideas which can help us in learning from Indian traditions. For example, how Atmanam Vidhi, know thyself, Purusa evam idam sarvam. All these are very important ways of thinking about India, of thinking about self, society, and culture from Indian knowledge systems. But that has a global relevance. Time being short, I am not elaborating it, and let me quickly go to uh, hmm, Rameshwar Roy. Rameshwar Roy was a very creative thinker from India. And unfortunately, what is happening that our teaching is such, I do not know whether you have across at all come across work of Ram, because it is our social science research. Here, Vikas is from political science and many from disciplines. I don't know whether Vikas, Roy's work in political theory has been taught, but he wrote a very important book called Beyond Ego's Domain, Being and Order in the Vedas, in which he is writing public order is threatened by the split between man's concern for his own good and that for the good of others. But can this threat to the public order be mitigated, if not completely eliminated, by the installation of the police? For Aristotle, transcendence of self-interest is consequent upon participation in public affairs. But the shortcomings associated with personal character cannot be expected to be rectified by the public realm if it lacks necessary support from individual reborn as citizens. To be reborn as a person who, rising above his self-interest, becomes attentive to and actively seeks to pursue collective good is then to willingly accept a life dedicated to the cultivation of dharma. Again, what Rameshwara is telling us, the notion of politics and the public in the Western theoretical and political tradition mainly focuses on the public as a category, as a space, public sphere, civil society. But just coming to the public, if we do not give attention to the way each one of us also become a new person, so that I can listen to you, you can listen to me. What is happening in contemporary India, that everybody is shouting we are going for an election, and for the last many years everybody is shouting, nobody is listening to each other. Now our contemporary Indian society, tell me, now, for the well-being of our society, can a ruling government fulfill all our challenges? For example, whoever comes to the government, the reality is that today our girl children in many parts of the world, it is not safe for our girl children to walk in the street. And despite all our policies and slogans, safety of women is a great challenge for each one of us. It requires collaboration of both the government and the opposition. It also requires collaboration from religious and spiritual leaders, including the criminals, And, but where is a coming together of like that? So therefore, where is a dialogue for essential things like climate change, violence against women, violence against Dalits, and the increasing violence today. Now, that increasing violence, any of us can be a part of that, victim of that violence. Now, moving on, I come to Chittaranjan Da, JPS Ubroy here, his work, and time being short, I am not elaborating further except to say that Ubroy has written very insightfully about India and the world. We should read his work very carefully. Then Chittaranjan Das, and his work is an example of a social science creativity where one learns from the best in the world. At the same time, one writes in our mother language in a very excellent way. For example, Chittaranjan Das wrote a book in the 1960s called Samaja Parivartano Vikash. And then after 45 years, he wrote a book in psychology called Vyaktittva. And then he also has many important, ways of rethinking sociology and sociological method. For example, he writes, Methods in whatever way we study pertain to what has come now as methodology. But the importance of following a methodology should not tempt us to what may be a methodolatry, like idolatry of methods. Methods are useful, but they are not sacrosanct. Science degenerates into scientism if we are almost morbidly keen about prescribed methods, according to Viktor Frankl, the logotherapist. Moving on, I would give you a very quick here also. We can read the work of Daya Krishna, Jain Mohanty, and Veena Das. Much more deeply, I do not have time to elaborate, except to say that Jain Mohanty, the great philosopher, he writes, my tradition, he is writing as a philosopher, that what is my tradition as a philosopher from India? My tradition is constituted not by Shruti alone, but by all those texts with which I think, Plato, Kant, Hegel, to name a few. My tradition as an Indian philosopher needs then to be represented as a series of concentric circles, opening out to many other traditions, to the large conversation of mankind at the outermost fringes. This picture rehabilitates my self-understanding as being both an Indian philosopher and an universal thinker. And this also can be a self aspiration for each one of us. For example, each one of us as students of society, we are simultaneously an Indian student of society as well as universal thinker. And our universal thinking is part of our sadhana and struggle. Now I give an idea of an Upanishadic sociology very briefly by saying that the whole idea of Upanishad is that we sit together and learn together. And this idea of an Upanishad of knowledge can be also thought against the background of Foucault's ideas of archaeology of knowledge. Michael Foucault, in his influential archaeology of knowledge, talks about how the archaeology of knowledge involves studying texts in archives, as well as interrogating the monuments that have been erected in the name of knowledge and power, which also challenges us to ask ourselves whether we are consciously or unconsciously perpetrating acts of monumentalization in the name of Bharat and Bharatiya sociology. And you may note that there is a spree of monument building in contemporary India, whether the monuments or statues of Ambedkar, Gandhi, or the Statue of Unity near Baroda, which is a great statue recently built. But Foucault's archaeology of knowledge does not involve engagement with movements. We need a new archaeology of knowledge that involves engagement with not only text and monuments, but also movements, and these movements are multidimensional. These are movements of ideas as well as political and spiritual movements. They are also movements of consciousness. So, what is the Upanishadic sociology? As I told you, the Upanishadic way is a way of sitting together and learning together. Does it mean that Vikash and myself, he is in Amarkantak and I am in Chennai, we are not physically sitting together? Then can it not be Upanishadic? Yes, it is
Yes,
Upanishadic,
yes,
because whether it is helped by digital technology or not, whenever we are studying even in the earlier times, say 5,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, Now, even if we didn't have the technology, when we are having the same vibration, it creates an Upanishadic space. Sri Aurobindo tells us that the Upanishads are epic hymns of self-knowledge and world knowledge and God knowledge. For Sri Aurobindo, the poetic sentences of Upanishads are full of revealing power and suggestive thought color that discover a whole infinite through a finite image. Some of the prose Upanishads offer vivid narrative which can resonate with the anthropological and sociological practice of description, but they also offer glimpses of that extraordinary stir and movement of spiritual inquiry and passion for the highest knowledge which made the Upanishads possible. And Upanishadic sociology can combine sociological practices of description, explanation, and understanding with a spiritual quest understood in an open way and not in a dogmatic or in a pejorative sense. Very quickly, I wanted to bring two dimensions of the Upanishadic. For example, in this way of sitting together, the language that comes here is not just an abstract language, it is an intimate language. Secondly, this knowledge has a countercultural dimension. In his very important work on Upanishads, my friend Devashish Banerjee says that the Upanishadic emerged as a countercultural movement against Vedic orthodoxy. Similarly, if you bring the idea of Jürgen Habermas, his notion of discourse ethics, he's saying that when we are arguing together, discussing together, and it creates a moral consciousness, and that moral consciousness makes us aware of the limits of conventional sociological norm. For example, when we discuss together, now for example in a family, that a wife is coming back from work and husband is coming back from work, and the husband is sitting in the sofa with two legs on each other, and the wife is preparing tea. This condition, for example. Now, if we discuss together, okay, earlier maybe 50 years ago it was the condition, but now let us make tea together. Now, this kind of a discussion has the possible a countercultural, reality which can interrogate patriarchy in our everyday life. And then in this section, very quickly, I'm discussing Upanishadic sociology and planetary conversations. For example, how there is an Upanishadic dimension in many streams of knowledge, including in Western philosophy. When Edmund Husserl, in his phenomenology, he is emphasizing on intuition, and that intuition is a living intuition. Sri Aurobindo is also emphasizing on intuition. Allama Iqbal's reconstruction of religious thought in Islam, it also has that dimension. Then moving on now, finally, ecology of hope. The contemporary move towards Bharatiya sociology is an acknowledgement of crisis of contemporary modes of sociological knowledge in India and the world, which borders on condition of hopelessness in terms of existing conditions and discourse of knowledge, power, and institutional bottlenecks and irrelevance. In this context, our sadhana of love, labor, and learning, and conversations within and across borders create spaces and times of hope. This hope is ecological rather than egological, as it arises out of ecology of knowledge of Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa, and ecology of knowledges and experiments of the world. Our hope with India and the world arises out of our realization that we are part of Bharat, Hind, India, Vishwa, and with all our challenges in society and histories, we have not been bereft of creative and critical sadhana and struggles of reinterpretation, reconstructions, and revolutionary transformations of our ways of knowing, being, organization of self, culture, society, nation state, and our interlinked world. Finally, I would like to present you a poem called Sudra Saraswati. Sudra Saraswati, Veena on the one hand, plow on the other, doing prakritik kheti, natural farming, but also cultivating nature, inner, outer, and relational, from determinism to co-creation. Weak naturalism, blind forces of nature becoming conscious with the offering of a plough and the music of Veena, not conquering nature, but co-development of self-society, culture and agriculture. Weak naturalism as weak naturalization, weakening natural, cultural, and nationalist arrogance and aggression towards a Sudra Sakti strength and Sudra Bhakti devotion of love, labor, and learning. Compassion and confrontation, making natural, cultural, and nationalist farming a field of learning. Science, technology, world wisdom, and spiritual realizations. Ritam, law, nomos, and social becoming. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, towards a purusartha of farming, farming as an integral purusartha of swadhyaya and sahadhyaya, studying self and the other together, reading Veda, Upanishad, Torah, Tripitaka, Torah, Bible, Al Quran, Guru Granth Sahib, Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, and Durkheim's rules of sociological method together. Sudra Saraswati, Maitri Saraswati, Srama and Sadhana of perfection, dances with wisdom, strength, and wealth, Maheshwari, Mahakali, and Mahalakshmi, Sudra Maheshwari, Sudra Mahakali, Sudra Mahalakshmi, towards a new cultivation and transformation of caste, gender, and race relations. Sudra, Brahmins, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, men, women, and children, walking and meditating together beyond the tyranny and alienation of caste, nation, and gender, a new natural, cultural, and national farming, Rasalila of a new evolution. So thank you for your kind attention. And now I look forward to your thoughts, insights, and suggestions.
Uh, Thank
Thank
you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. Actually, we have learned a lot of things to your presentation that in present time, most of the professors, universities, colleges, and they bounce to the scholars, student with syllabus. So we have seen to your presentation, sir has mentioned different kinds of the dimension, different kinds of the terminology in his presentation. We have seen that sir has mentioned the literature, sociology, political science, economics, and everything. So it is a great opportunity to us. So next, I'm invite to Shubhangi for the question and sensation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative lecture. Now, the session is open for questioning. If anyone any query, you can ask.
Yes.
Hello,
If
Shubhangi. Already Minati has raised her hand. You can invite her, please.
yes. If anybody have any queries, so you can ask directly to Professor Ananta, sir.
Yeah. Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I thank you for the invitation to this webinar. So as always, Professor Ananta Bhai, as I told him, the presentation was very insightful. I just want one clarification about that. He said, no, that names are nominal and the names are different. In what context it is, and please put some light on those issues. That was my query. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can open your video, our friends can
Yes,
see you
yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
you. Please.
Yes,
Hope
madam.
I'm visible.
Yes.
Namaste, all of you. Namaste.
Okay. And I want
Namaskar,
to
namaskar.
introduce Minati is a creative writer, thinker, and in
Oh,
her own way, she brings, literature and thinking about society. So she's also a creative story writer, yes, poet. So I would take, questions together and come after a few questions. Is it okay?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so next, anyone want to ask?
Yes, we have Chandra Bhai.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. My name is Chandrabhal Tiwari Om, and I've just recently enrolled in PhD program from BBAU Lucknow, Babasaheb Ambedkar University Lucknow,
Good,
and
good.
I just came to know about this on social media about this whole organization and this talk as well. So I'm so happy that such organization actually exists. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
no, I'm not, sir. I'm actually student, Avi. So I just wanted to know about more about this whole concept which you use, sir, Shudra Saraswati, because I heard this term for the first time, and this is actually a very interesting term which you use. So can you elaborate it on like from where this term actually, like the genesis of this very term, Shudra Saraswati, and can you elaborate on this very term further? Yeah, this is my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay, so next, anyone? Okay, Sakshi is here. Yes.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good evening, actually. Good evening, sir.
you.
Uh,
Yes.
so, my question is that, sir, can you please suggest me to some theories or components from Indian knowledge system which can directly integrate at the school level education?
Can you elaborate a bit? At the school level, meaning what do you mean?
Yes, sir. Sir, like in NEP, they uses the word that to integrate Indian knowledge system uh, in all level of education, like from foundational stage to the higher education. Sir, I just want to know some theories like Panchko's theory they mention in NCF, like Panchko's theory to integrate at foundational level. So I just know about the more components which can also integrate at the school level directly. Use can be used by the teacher in their learning, teaching, learning.
Yes. Thank you, Sakhi. What is your area of work, please, Sakhi? Where are you based?
Okay. So actually, doing my PhD from Banaras Hindu University, Faculty of Education, and I'm selecting my topic as a awareness and pedagogical practices to integrate Indian knowledge system in school education. And I'm currently looking for the some components which can be integrated at that school level. So that's why I'm asking this question.
Yes.
And actually,
And
sir, Sage also executive committee member of the Indian Research Scholar Association.
lovely, lovely. And then, the Kulgit of BHU, BHU का जो कोलगीत है
Yes,
अ,
sir.
वो सर्व विद्या के राजधानी.
Rajdhani. Yes, sir.
So it would be nice if you sing a few lines from this beautiful Kulgit. You remember?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you, are you asking about to sing me?
Yes, a few lines. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. So please give me a few seconds.
मधुर मनोहर.
Yes, sir. So please give me 1 second.
Lovely. Yeah. Because this whole our journey with Indian knowledge has a long genealogy, and
Yes.
when Malabhyaji started BHU, there was place to study all knowledge about all religions, isn't it? All languages.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. I would like to, if you remember, sir, please sing with me.
Okay.
I was also pass out from BHU. I can also
Oh,
like
that's nice.
contribute with this.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, we can start
मधुर
actually.
मनोहर अति सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी ये तीनों लोगों से न्यारी काशी सुज्ञान
क्या बात है, वाह।
और सत्य राशि बसी है गंगा के रम्य तट पर ये सर्व विद्या. की राजधानी, राजधानी नई नहीं है ये
ये
ईंट
ईंट
पत्थर,
पत्थर
है
है
विश्व कर्मा
विश्वकर्मा
का
का
कार्य
कार्य
सुंदर,
सुंदर
रचे
रची
है
है
विद्या
विद्या
के
के
भव्य
भव्य
मंदिर, ये सर्वसृष्टि
सृष्टि
की राजधानी, राजधानी यहाँ की
है
है ये
या
पवित्र
पवित्र
शिक्षा,
शिक्षा
ये
कि
सत्य
सत्य
पहले
पहले
फिर
फिर आत्मरक्षा
के हरिश्चंद्र थे यहीं पर, ये सत्य शिक्षा की राजधानी, राजधानी विवेद ईश्वर की सत्यवाणी, बने जिन्हें
बने
पढ़
पढ़े
के ब्रह्म ज्ञानी, थे व्यास जी ने रचे यहीं पर, ये ब्रह्म विद्या की राजधानी, राजधानी। तो ये
बहुत
अभी
बढ़िया,
आगे और भी है।
बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया।
थैंक यू सर।
For example, what a deep invitation, Brahma Vidya ke Rajdhani. So what is Brahma Vidya, And for example, how Brahma Vidya and sociological knowledge, they are not isolated from each other. And this was written by Santiswaro Bhatnagar. He was a great scientist, and when I first listened to this, tears came rolling into my eyes. And when I was spending, a little time as a visiting professor in BHU, and so that is how, that is, this whole the Indian knowledge and the living tradition, the music, and that sense of vastness, Ganga, the flowing Ganga. Okay, I'll come to your question a little later.
Yes.
Some further thoughts, please. Now let us listen from our organizers, beginning
Ah.
with Shubhangi, then Sunita, Professor Nandini, and Vikas Kumar.
Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, जी sir.
Yeah, I request all of you to please share your thoughts. Shubhangi, please, where are you best, Shubhangi? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Where are you best, Shubhangi, please? In Maharashtra?
Yes, sir. I'm from Maharashtra, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar city.
From which city? In which city?
Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. It's renamed as recently renamed as uh, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. Before was Aurangabad.
Aurangabad. So you are from this university, earlier as Aurangabad, Babasaheb University, no?
Babasaheb Ambedkar. Yes.
What is your subject, please?
Uh, I'm from Faculty of Commerce.
Okay.
Yes.
So some thoughts from you on this presentation?
Yes, sir. I'm not unable to say anything about because uh,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, you explain all the concepts very clearly because I'm commerce background, but I know a little bit about Indian culture and society. So your presentation uh, enhanced my knowledge, and it was very nice. I would like to see this lecture again.
Thank you. Now, Sunita, please.
Yes, sir. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, myself, Professor Sunita, from Mumbai, Maharashtra. Mumbai, it is a word called as Mum Ba I. Mum stand for Mama, Ba.
Okay.
Basically, Gujarati say their mother to Ba, and I. Marathi people usually used to say to their mother called as I. So I am residing in this place where Mumbai, including all Marathi, all Gujaratis, all Hindis, basically Mumbai. And sir, my subject for study it is of economics and commerce. Sir, one word I would like to tell you about overall presentation, what I find it. Sir, actually, my father used to say, who can teach you at the stage of a master, it is called as mother. So I didn't realize that time. But slowly, gradually, when I started teaching, जो माँ के स्तर पे आपको समझाता है, it is called as master. So you are a master for this session, sir. You
Yes.
have taught us like in basic to advance what exactly the insight, what is the sociology, where do we have to be a rethink, what is the transformation, where do we have to be a more concentration. Sir, actually, the word will be a short, but the gratitude for you, it will be a cannot be a given into the word. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Sunita, do you write poems?
Sir, I didn't. I
You
never,
write? Never.
never.
Eh? Then Professor Nandini, please.
नमस्ते, ओम शांति। बहुत ही सुंदर तरीके से हमारे अनंता गिरी सर ने आज पूरी डेप्थ के साथ इस विषय पर प्रकाश डाला। बहुत ही इस विषय पर आपका गहरा चिंतन था। आपने बहुत अच्छे अच्छे रेफरेंस दिए और धर्म और स्पिरिचुअलिटी के बारे में आपने बहुत ही गहराई से प्रकाश डाला। हमारी भारतीय संस्कृति क्या है, भारतीय संस्कृति का महत्व क्या है और भारतीय संस्कृति की पहचान क्या है, ये आज हम सभी आपसे सीखे। और इस विषय पर मैं समझती हूँ कि और भी इस प्रकार के हमारे चिंतन हो, ताकि कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट का स्टूडेंट हो, कोई भी फैकल्टी हो, कहीं कोई भी, चाहे इकोनॉमिक्स हो, पॉलिटिकल साइंस हो, जर्नलिज्म हो या एजुकेशन से हो, लेकिन ऐसे टॉपिक सभी को कवर करते हैं। तो मैं बहुत बहुत गहराई से हमारे इंडियन रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स एसोसिएशन की ओर से, विकास कुमार सर की ओर से, सुनीता मैडम की ओर से, शुभांगिनी मैडम की ओर से, सारे रिसर्च स्कॉलर की ओर से बहुत बहुत दिल की गहराइयों से अनंता गिरी सर को धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि आपने आज के टॉपिक पर जो गहराई से हम सभी को समझ दी है, वो मैं समझती हूँ ये सबकी जीवन के लिए एक उपयोगी आज का वेबिनार रहा। और इसमें से अगर कुछ एक बात भी हम अपने जीवन के अंदर धारणा में ले आए, अपने जीवन में अपनाए, तो मैं समझती हूँ आज का हमारा ये 1.5 घंटा हमारी लाइफ के लिए बहुत सार्थक होगा। तो कोई ना कोई वेबिनार से हम कुछ ना कुछ सीखते हैं। तो आज के वेबिनार के इस टॉपिक से अनंता गिरी सर ने जो हमें बहुत ही लाइव रीति से हमें जो प्रकाश डाला है, तो हम सभी कोई एक छोटा सा इसमें से टॉपिक को अपनी लाइफ में इनकलकेट करके अपनी लाइफ में उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने का संकल्प करें, तो ये वेबिनार मैं समझती हूँ सफल होगा। बहुत बहुत फिर से मैं सर का धन्यवाद करती हूँ। थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू सो मच। इस वेबिनार के आयोजन के लिए मैं विकास कुमार सर का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि हमारी इंडियन रिसर्च स्कॉलर एसोसिएशन की ओर से सारे इंडिया के रिसर्च स्कॉलर के लिए समय प्रति समय विभिन्न विषयों पर आप इस प्रकार के वेबिनार का आयोजन करते हैं। तो सर का भी मैं तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करती हूँ। आज के हमारे वेबिनार के कोऑर्डिनेटर प्रोफेसर सुनीता मैडम, शुभांगिनी मैडम, दोनों का भी मैं सदैव बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ कि आपने भी अपनी पूरी जिम्मेदारी आज के वेबिनार के प्रति निभाई। आपने पूरा बहुत अच्छी तरह से मंच संचालन किया और बहुत अच्छी तरह से सर का परिचय दिया। विकास सर ने भी सभी का बहुत सुंदर शब्दों से स्वागत किया। मैं फिर से पुनः सभी रिसर्च स्कॉलर और सहभागियों का धन्यवाद करती हूँ। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू मैडम। थैंक यू
और एक्चुअली सर मैं नंदिनी जी के विषय में तो नंदिनी जी कहता था, लेकिन ये इन्होंने फोन करके मुझे कई बार वो मुझे कहा कि मुझे नंदिनी दीदी कहा करिए आप। एक्चुअली हम लोग 20 साल में ऑलमोस्टली हम लोग 25 साल में रिसर्च की जर्नी शुरू करते हैं, 28 या 30 ईयर्स तक हम लोग जाते जाते फ्रस्ट्रेशन के स्थिति में आ जाते हैं कि अब हम लोगों को नहीं करना है, बहुत कर लिया, बहुत पढ़ लिया। और नंदिनी दीदी को देख करके हम लोगों को लगता है कि अभी हम लोगों को कितना करने की जरूरत है और किस उम्र तक पढ़ाई का जज्बा कायम रहना चाहिए। तो थैंक यू नंदिनी दीदी। और उन्होंने स्वयं से कहा कि मैं आपके एसोसिएशन का पार्ट बनना चाहती हूँ, आप लोग बहुत अच्छा काम करते हैं। और इस उम्र में इतना उत्साह मेरे लिए हम सब समझ सकते हैं कि शायद कोई कोई ही कर पाता है। मैं तो नहीं कहूँ कि इम्पॉसिबल है, बट किसी के पास ही इतना फिलिप, इतना एक अकादमिया के प्रति समर्पण इस एज में होता है। तो थैंक यू नंदिनी दीदी, धन्यवाद।
मेरा शोध का विषय भी धार्मिक आध्यात्मिक पत्रकारिता ही है
जी जी
और उसी पर मेरा काम चल रहा है।
जी
तो मेरे लिए भी आज का विषय बहुत सुंदर, बहुत यूजफुल रहा।
जी 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 जी। आनंद सर, प्लीज
Uh,
आंसरिंग द क्वेश्चन सर। यस सर।
thank you. Now, Nandini Didi, where are you best, please? Where are you staying?
I am from Ahmedabad. I am doing my Ph.D. from Gujarat Vidyapith journalism department,
Acha, acha.
and almost now after 2 3 months I would like to mostly it is a finishing point पर है अभी मेरा।
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, Devendra, you have some thoughts, please?
दिव्येंद्र से आप म्यूट है, म्यूट करिए।
Please unmute. We cannot hear.
आई थिंक देयर इज ए नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम सर।
Okay, okay. Now, thank you all for your thoughts. I I think Minati had raised her hand again. Minati, would you like to share some thoughts again?
No, by mistake that was there. I just was listening to everyone. It was
ओके
very
ओके।
enriching. So just
And Vikas and friends, if we have just 1 or 2 minutes, after I say, we can request Minati to present one of her poems.
Oh
And
yes, yes sir, sure sir, it's
Minati, you can please.
yes
And
sir,
that
yes sir.
way, this whole our research is that it is a creative process
Okay.
in the sense that how do we imagine our sociological reality and literature. So, Minati, you can please think of a poem of yours. And now, thank you, all of you, beginning with Minati's question about name. Now, each one of us have a name, like Vikas, you know. Now, because your name, and then in our sociology of development, we also have Vikas, you know.
Yes, yes sir, yes
But
sir.
then, but then Vikas and as sociology of development, then we have a sociologist in India. You
Hmm.
have heard his name. His name is Shiv Viswanathan.
Yeah.
And he says, he writes thus this word because,
Yes sir, yes sir, yes.
we should never use this word development in our, you know, Ashish Nandi and Shiv Viswanathan, they
Yes.
are very critical about the word because whenever we hear the word because, suppose I am a displaced from Narmada river dam
Hmm.
or Takur
Yeah.
dam, then for me the word because would have a different connotation, isn't it? So therefore, name in that sense, it is nominal, like Minati and Vikas, and they give a, they are just a name. But at the same time, they are not just name. So today, in India, so we are just saying that, now all our word today, oh, Bharat, Bharatiyata. But at the same time, if we just only use one word Bharat, to give the name to our India, which already also is known by India, isn't it? No? Bharat, that is India in our constitution. But Bharat, that is India, also is part of Hind. Even now, all of us are saying Jai Hind, isn't it? Jai Hind. Even so, therefore, the name is nominal, but if we use only one name, then it has unfortunately a danger of making some of us feel as if Hind, at one time we say Hindu Sita Hamara, so that spirit. So it is name nominal, but it is not just nominal. It really reflects our journey, our together. And it is in that sense that how we would have to be very conscious about our name and words, so that we would have to do our sadhana with language in such a way that language unites us rather than language divides us, because that is the original spirit of language. What language does, language is a thread of communication. But if we are not conscious, we use language to create division, the whole linguistic politics. But today we are in a post-linguistic politics, in the sense that whether even in Tamil Nadu, many people are on their own very interested in learning Hindi. So if you come here, people would start speaking their little one or two rudimentary Hindi they don't know. So therefore, that kind of how names are not just names, and especially in a socio-political context, it requires a lot of careful way of saying names. Then चंद्र भाई तिवारी ओम, आपका नाम बहुत सुंदर है.
So it's Chandra Bhal. Bhal means Mastak. Chandra, ये शिव जी का नाम है. चंद्र भाल तिवारी हो.
अच्छा, अरे वो तो आप नो वंडर आप बीएचयू में पढ़े हैं, और फिर हम आपको बोलेंगे हर हर महादेव.
महादेव सर.
This whole, invitation of Sudra Saraswati, like Saraswati is a Saraswati is not only a goddess of learning, but Saraswati herself is learning, isn't it? Because what has happened is that because we have created a statue of Saraswati, but Saraswati herself is a learner. Saraswati is a sadhika of learning. Therefore, Sri Aurobindo is saying in his book, The Mother, that Saraswati is ever engaged to make things perfect. It is not perfect yet, but we would have to make it perfect. So Sudra Saraswati is that how Saraswati is learning, but learning not only with mind, but also with hand. And this is part of the contemporary challenge in Indian society. Still, we have still a kind of a very deformed idea of Brahmanism. Now, Brahman does not mean that you only do with your intellect and you do not have no word with your hand. But it is a very limited way of intellectual work. Today, we would have to bring our hand and head together. So, bringing all these concerns, so this thought once came to me about to envision Sudra Saraswati and then look at our learning practice this way. For example, Sakhi in school education. Now, we know that today in school education, one important challenge is how do we bring the mental and manual labor together. And doing that in this build on Indian knowledge, for example, Sanskriti or Krishi, because Sanskriti or Krishi, they worked together. Now, many of the our women, men, while working on the land, they also sang, they composed songs, Then other things like along with Panchakosha, a few important learning from Indian tradition, which is a very important implication for students both in India and all over the world, is the notion of Pancha Mahabhuta. For example, our five elements that we should teach us and all of us what is Pancha Mahabhuta. And it's very dynamic and many-sided manifestation. For example, water. Now, if you bring the idea of Pancha Mahabhuta, then you can really teach many subjects, at different levels. And you can bring poetry here, poems about water, है कि नहीं? जे जल के तरफ Devendra, yes, we will come to you. We'll come to you. Thank you. So, like Pancha Mahabhuta, fire, for example, and water, air, today with climate change. So, all these things can be subjects of deeper knowledge from Indian tradition, but across the traditions. For example, how water has been written about in Islamic tradition. You know how water is important in garden. Our brothers and sisters from Islam, they have gifted us beautiful culture of gardens, isn't it? How it is possible? And also, during some Islamic rule, 33% of the land was reserved for common land. So we would have to learn from all traditions of governance as to how do we really, use our, Pancha Mahabhut when it comes part of our natural resources. Similarly, three guna. I think Sattva, Raja, Tama. This is a very important idea. It all of us are part of Sattva, Raja, Tama, isn't it? You know. Similarly, Purusartha. Once I was giving a talk in a university in Sweden, and it was in an education department. And then a PhD scholar told me, she said that then I to finish my PhD, I should have less karma and more dharma. You see, so some of these we can expand along these lines. I think these were the questions that were put to us, isn't it? And Devendra?
Sir, now am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, actually, for that time. Uh, my name is Devendra Kumar Patodia and a research scholar, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar. Sir, actually,
किस
this is
किस
my first
डिपार्टमेंट से हैं
webinar.
आप? किस डिपार्टमेंट से हैं दिपेन जी?
The Department of English, sir.
Okay, because I have completed my post graduation from that university.
Oh, thank you, sir. Actually, sir, I agree with Mr. Chandrabhai Tiwari that first of all, thank you, sir, Vikas, sir, that actually I knew about this group actually in the Research Scholar Association. So, first time actually I joined this webinar just because of a WhatsApp group. So, actually, my topic is, sir, in folk tales of India, uh, which is related with obviously sir Indian system, Indian sorry culture system. So I will not say anything, sir, but just appreciate that, sir, that it's a very grateful thing for to join this webinar, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And now, Minati, please, a poem from you.
Uh, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. As today we are talking about Indian system. Actually, I had thought when you asked, I will read the poetry about Panchatattva, but coincidentally you discussed about Pancha Mahabhuta also. So anyway, I will read that poetry about Panchatattva. So the title of the poem is Panchatattva. It goes like this.
And you can put your video on, please, if it
Yes,
is
yes, yes.
okay.
Yeah,
If possible, then. Huh?
yeah. Thank you. The depth of ocean water cry out loud. The depth of ocean water cry out loud, letting the tears flow. To cleanse from inside, let it all go. You are the fire, burn the boundaries that define you. You are the fire, burn the boundaries that define you. Tame the animal within, adapt a new morning, and lighting the passion in. The malleability and the vastness of air observe all around. Breathe out the disappointment and breathe in the hope. Breathe out the disappointment and breathe in the hope. Focus on your goal and live in the moment. Oh, the ever permissive earth, ground your roots. Give as much as possible, build a stronger self. The wounded physic and spirits to heal. Build a stronger self to the wounded physic and spirit to heal. Let the spirit fly. Connect to the wave of humanity. Listen to the inner music and dance. Listen to the inner music and dance. Know who you are truly and be still. Life is not just a happenstance. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
बहुत बढ़िया,
Thank
बहुत
you.
बढ़िया.
And because just one minute, we have a friend Nidhi who has joined us. It is
Yes, yes,
Chennai.
sir. Sure, sir. Sure.
So Nidhi, please, some thoughts from you. Nidhi, you can kindly unmute yourself and share your thoughts.
Wait, Nidhi madam, can you listen us?
I think she has unmuted. Yes.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nidhi madam? Yes, sir. I think there is some technical issue, sir.
Okay. So
Hmm.
then,
So, sir, now we can end the session, sir. Yeah, you
yes.
want to say something?
Vikas sir, do we have any WhatsApp group or something which we
Yes,
can
yes,
join in
we
where we
we
can?
have we have WhatsApp group, website, Facebook, every social media are available.
Okay.
So, please write my number. I will send to you the link.
Okay, I'll message you. Please
Uh,
tell me.
if, double nine one
Okay.
nine 914900. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Great. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
So yes, Subhangi madam.
Yes, I would like to inform all of you. You can watch a recording of this lecture and previous all lectures on ESA's YouTube channel. So kindly
Yeah.
check it out.
Yes. Just you will be put the name India Research Scholar Association. Every lecture we have uploaded there. So okay, sir. Now we can end the session, sir.
Yes.
Wait,
And
wait, wait.
yeah,
Uh,
Okay,
I
okay.
I want to ask something to sir. Sir, as I shared that I'm looking for some components which can be integrated at the school level. So, sir, I have actually identified the 10 components which can be probably can integrated at the school level. So, sir, I just want to share with you, the please, if possible, uh, you can share your thoughts on that components and you can suggest me some other components if possible. So, can I?
Sure. You have my email. I think all of you have my email. So I
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
request
sir.
you to kindly send me an email with your
Okay.
number, and then we will
Yes,
be in touch, including you, Sakshi.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, okay, sir.
Uh, with the permission of our guests, we are concluding this lecture here. See you in the upcoming lectures. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.